Ladies and gentlemen, Gears of War Reloaded is out today. And Microsoft was kind enough to send us over a review code so we get early access to it and play some of it. Now, they sent over a PlayStation 5 code, and I wanted us to get the PS5 code because it's weird to see this game on PlayStation. That's one of the big draws. So I thought, you know what? We got to see this thing running on the PlayStation 5. But not me. Because back in the day when Gears came out, I played Gears of War. I was the Halo person though. Okay, so it was like back then you had certain divisions. You had the Halo people, the Gears of War people, and then you had the Call of Duty people. There would be crossover sometimes, but Nate still to this day has a Gears of War profile picture on the Xbox, and it looks kind of old and crusty. So I think this is his original profile picture potentially. He is the Gears guy. I've seen him in action online. And he lives up to it. So, Nate, you've been playing the PS5 version. How did it feel picking up the symmetrical sticks on the DualSense to take cover and play Gears?
That felt a little strange. It definitely didn't feel natural in comparison to the asymmetrical sticks of the Xbox controller when it came to playing Gears of War. But after the first few minutes, adjusted very quickly to it. I was able to go through the campaign of Gears of War Reloaded in solo on insane difficulty. It took me about 8 hours to complete. So no real issues when it came to the controls after just that initial shock of, this feels weird, but then it kind of felt second nature after a few minutes.
You knocked that thing out in insane difficulty already? Just like that?
Yep, I took out General ROM in just over 2 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, there you go. There you go. So this is the thing that's thrown me off about this release is we had Gears of War Ultimate, which is already kind of like a resolution boost and stuff. This is supposed to just be better resolution, higher frame rate again. I mean, is it noticeable?
If you have a 120 hertz TV, it's definitely more fluid. There are some texture upgrades in comparison to Gears of War Ultimate Edition, but it's probably going to be texture upgrades that you would only notice if you saw the two versions side by side. But if you had played Gears Ultimate, you're basically getting that experience again. Like, yes, higher resolution, better frame rate, but at the end of the day, it's still just Gears of War. There's no significant additions of any kind when it comes to the campaign. It's just Gears of War Ultimate. So if you are only familiar with Gears of War from the Xbox 360, there will be new chapters to play. There's an additional boss battle, and all of this was included in Gears of War Ultimate Edition. But if your experience of the game came with Ultimate Edition, there is nothing new here in terms of content.
Well, I think that would, I think, be like people on PlayStation would look at this and go, I feel like I remember playing it back in the 360 days, but I went over to PlayStation for a while, and now here it is. I think there are going to be a lot of people who didn't play Gears of War Ultimate and are seeing this like, oh, wow, Gears on the... So it's on Game Pass. If you have it, Xbox Game Pass, you can just download it and play it. It is $40 otherwise. So it's still kind of falling into that. It's not full price, not 70, even 80 nowadays. It's kind of that budget-minded price point. What do you get with this thing? So I know that there's the campaign, there's the multiplayer.
Yes, so in comparison to the 360 original, what you would get is just a handful of additional chapters and a extra boss battle, which is the Brumac boss battle, and that was exclusive to the PC back in the early 2000s. It never came to the Xbox 360. So the first time it came to home consoles was with the Ultimate Edition. For the multiplayer, you get all of the DLC from the original game. So you get all the maps, you get all the gun skins, all the character skins. So it essentially is the definitive way to play Gears of War.
How did it feel with that PlayStation? To be honest, as the Gears guy, always using that Xbox controller, was it weird?
I mean, it was weird just for those first few minutes. My preference would still be to use an Xbox controller while playing the game. It just feels more natural with that asymmetrical sticks.
Sure.
And, one feature I did disable on the PlayStation 5 was the triggers, because it does have that slight resistance. And I was like, well, I want to try it. I want to use the torque bow and kind of feel like I'm pulling back on it a bit. But you don't have to do a full click for a shotgun to shoot. If you just go that mid click, it will shoot. Mm-hmm. So I kind of felt as though the feature wasn't utilized in any meaningful way, so I disabled it.
Did they? What about the anything with the additional rumble features or anything?
Nothing that was noticeable. The game does use the speaker of the DualSense. So
Mhm.
when the characters are speaking over the walkie-talkies, that will come through. You'll hear some of the sound effects coming through the controller as well. Like if you do an active reload, you'll hear the sound come
Oh, that's
through.
cool.
So it's kind of, a nice little extra sense of immersion, but it's nothing that's really groundbreaking or something say, whoa, I have to get the PlayStation 5 version over the PC or Xbox version due to these features. It's still Gears of War with just some slight things that take advantage of the controller.
Now I know there are gonna be some trophy hunters out there for this thing. So you went through in the insane dip. Were there trophies popping for that specific difficulty, just for people out there to know?
Yeah, based on what I could see in terms of my trophies popping, I don't have access to the full list because the game isn't out yet. But I believe one website, I think it was xboxachievements.com, they did have the full list, and it looks as though it is identical to Gears Ultimate Edition. So you will have to go through the campaign on an insane difficulty if you want to get the platinum. You'll also have to play it in co-op, which I was not able to do. So when I finished the game, I had unlocked 60% of the trophies, bearing in mind that doesn't include any of the multiplayer trophies, any of the co-op campaign trophies, and unfortunately, I had missed 2 cog tags during my playthrough, so I didn't get all 33.
It's disappointing.
I know, I missed going 100% of the campaign by 2 tags.
The multiplayer you mentioned, you said you got into one multiplayer match, I think is what you mentioned to me.
Yeah, I was only able to get into one match because not that many people have the game, and trying to, figure out what times people are on, it's rather difficult. So I did get into one team deathmatch. I went 10-0.
Yeah, that's right. Let them know, Nate.
Right.
What happened? Were there a bunch of other journalists in there that you had to take care of?
I assume they were other journalists and maybe some influencers and content creators. So I won that match pretty handedly. Hopefully I can continue
So they
the
ran into the
trend.
buzzsaw. That's what happened.
Well, they ran to the Nasher and got destroyed. We were on the escalation map, and they seemed very confused as to the makeup of the map, so I kind of took advantage of their confusion. And
okay.
I mean, from what I could tell, everyone I played with was on PlayStation because it shows the PlayStation logo next to your name.
Yeah,
and
it was doing that in the beta, yeah.
Yeah, and I did log in to my Xbox account as well. So when you're on the main screen, you can hit the start button for friends. And it will show you the friends list of both your Xbox and PlayStation friends list. It merges them. So that your Xbox friends will have a cog logo next to their name. PlayStation would have the PlayStation icon. So there is a way to tell which platform people are playing on.
Okay, yeah, because that's the other thing we weren't really able to check out is the idea of crossplay. And apparently there's cross progression, we think. Yeah, cross progression. So
Yes.
Those are things we haven't really been able to test much of. We'll find out here when it releases, because I'm sure we'll try it out. Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and everything. So the thing that you mentioned that was kind of interesting to me is that you said you signed into your Xbox account on your PlayStation, and you were having both trophies and achievements unlock at the same time.
Yes, once I linked the account, as I was unlocking the trophies, I would turn on the Xbox later that night, and I would have that prompt in the lower corner saying I had unlocked 10 achievements from Gears of War Reloaded. So it was doing that cross progression. I want to test it in the opposite way, though, of making progress on the Xbox and seeing if I get the trophies to pop over. But as you said, that's something that we weren't able to test just yet, but we will have an answer to that once the game releases. But the PlayStation does kind of have an exclusive feature, or at least I'm assuming it's exclusive. Again, weren't able to play it on the Xbox or the PC. And it's that Gears Reloaded has a time trial challenge. And it's for 4 specific areas of the game. And this uses the PlayStation card system. So it comes up saying, here's challenges. And what it is you have to defeat the bosses of the game. So you'd have to defeat the Berserker, the Corpser, the Brumac, and General Rom. And it will tally how quick you were able to achieve this. And then there is a global leaderboard, and it will show where you stack up against the competition. So right now, there's only about 50 people on it. But you have to do this on insane difficulty solo.
Oh, wow. Okay, geez. That's interesting. So you think that's a because it uses the card system? That might be a play.
Right.
Well, I mean, again, we'll find out.
Right. So I would assume it's exclusive to the PlayStation 5 because that is part of the OS of the system. And the Xbox doesn't have anything like that. And it's not in game, it's strictly through that card system.
So when we played the beta, and so I didn't get a chance to see what the visuals looked like in the campaign. The thing with these games is that usually the visuals are pared down a bit for multiplayer to make sure frame rate and stuff is steady, and you're not going to be staring at rocks or whatever when you're walking around multiplayer anyway. You're trying not to get killed. So with campaign, where you see the cutscenes and stuff play out, did they look noticeably better?
I mean, they look very similar to Gears Ultimate Edition. Definitely at a higher resolution, and if you can play at a higher frame rate. But I think it would be a case that you have to see them side by side to really appreciate any of the texture upgrades that are featured here, or even the utilization of HDR. So I think most people, when you boot it up, your initial reaction is going to be, oh, it looks like a slightly better version of Ultimate Edition, and maybe you would appreciate it more if you saw it side by side.
But if you're PS5 owner getting Gears of War for the first time, what would your thought for that be?
Very good looking game. It definitely stands the test of time.
Okay, because I do think there are going to be a lot of PS5 owners who maybe even have never really played the Gears, because we think of Gears as again, we've been doing this for a long time and stuff. We remember when Gears of War first came out. I think there'll be a lot of people, like especially on the PlayStation side, who came in somewhat recently, could have even been like PS4 generation, and just didn't really look towards Xbox and think much of Gears. And now all of a sudden it's showing up on PlayStation, almost a new franchise for them. So I get why Microsoft went this route, even though if you're on Xbox, feels a little redundant because you have Gears Ultimate and you've already experienced it. But this, if you're a new PlayStation owner, like if you're a PlayStation owner, you'd be a new Gears of War person, I guess, going into it. It seems like this is the move, and visually speaking, from what I saw limited, what you've played through now, it seems pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely a very sharp looking game. There's no visual issues I ran into. It still has all the little, physics issues that Gears is known for. None of that's been resolved. Any of the issues that existed with Gears Ultimate Edition still exist here. Sometimes you'll see the Locust doing weird things on the map. They'll get stuck on a rock and you can exploit it for an easy kill. But, there's no radical changes in terms of game systems. It's still Gears of War at the end of the day. So whether that's a detriment or a benefit is up to the user.
Waiting to get into multiplayer where it's just wall bouncing back and forth. Like in like a month, we just log in and people are wall bouncing everywhere.
One of the guys I was playing against was doing some weapon sliding. So that's still there. It didn't work out for him. I think he got a little overzealous with what he was trying to achieve, and he just kept running right into my Nasher. So good you can weapon slide, but if you don't know how to utilize it properly, it's not going to benefit you.
So Game Pass, this is an easy recommendation to download. $40 on the PlayStation, though. Okay, let's say if you're on Steam, $40. Is this a good pickup?
If you have never played Gears of War before, absolutely, this is a great pickup. If you are familiar with Gears of War and you don't want to go through the campaign again, it's a little tougher to recommend at $40. But if you love to play the multiplayer, maybe this is going to satisfy that itch. Get back into Gears multiplayer, and the campaign is still a lot of fun. So if you want to go through it in co-op, this is a fine way to do so. But I can definitely see the side of people saying, I've played Gears of War back on the 360. I played it again on Xbox One with Ultimate Edition. Do I need to come back for a third time? Probably not, but it's definitely dependent on how much you love this particular entry to the series.
Here's the thing we do miss, though, Nate, and it's kind of a lost art now, is the couch co-op shooter. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is that.
Yeah, 2-player co-op campaign. A lot of fun to go through. Yell at your teammate when they're messing up. So it does have that appeal.
That's the way I see it. Couch co-op shooters, we used to get those more often. You don't get them as much now. So it's nice to see them pop up every once in a while. If you got some friends around and maybe you guys just roommates or something, you share a PlayStation, hey, technically go through the game together and enjoy a classic with Gears of War. But I guess those are mostly our thoughts. Nate, How are you feeling right now, though, about the Gears franchise with kind of not a reset, but almost a reintroduction of this game now going to PlayStation? Gears E-Day, I mean, I think we all figure is probably making its way to PlayStation at some point. You know, is things looking bright for Gears right now?
Yeah, I think this is a great way to get the series back to the popularity that it once had. I mean, you go back 20 years to the Xbox 360, Gears of War was a powerhouse franchise for the brand. It was a release people looked forward to every time they announced it. It was a trailer you wanted to see at E3. You wanted to see this series from Microsoft. And with Gears of War Reloaded coming to PlayStation, it kind of gives it new life, as this is the first introduction to the series to PlayStation owners. And then next year when Gears E-Day comes out, it's just going to be full steam ahead for the franchise. So I think this was a very calculated and wise move for Microsoft to make, bringing the franchise to multi-platform. And I think it's going to benefit the series in the long haul.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, it's out today. Check it out. It's on Game Pass on Xbox and then Xbox on PC, I think is what they're calling it now. Otherwise, you can check it out on Xbox Store, PC Store, or PlayStation 5. That retailing at $40. Cross-play, cross-progression, couch co-op, the whole deal. So Gears of War, just reintroduced for a new audience. So good stuff. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And we'll see you next time. We'll try to do more of these as some of these releases come out from Microsoft. If they throw us codes, we could do some early gameplay and stuff, and then we can do some discussions. We'll let you guys know. We'll see you then.